전 세계 성인 중에 6억 4천만 명, 그리고 어린이 중에 1억 2천만 명이 비만에 해당된다고 합니다.
A food, which has been just a side dish at the Korean table for such a long time, has recently begun to make its mark due to a positive effect on preventing obesity. This food is, of course, the soul food for Koreans, kimchi. Kimchi Lactobacillus, the key to preventing obesity. As can be seen from clinical tests on obese patients about the changes in their weight, body fat, blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol, the correlation of their kimchi intake and the degree of its ripeness has shown to have a remarkable effect on preventing obesity and reducing blood pressure. In particular, having well-fermented kimchi has been shown to have a much higher effect than just raw kimchi. How does this higher effect come when consuming fermented kimchi? The answer can be found in the lactobacillus content. We can learn more about how the lactobacillus count in kimchi can prevent obesity based on the results of a 10-week study and observation. 3 out of 4 groups of 4-week-old mice were fed very high fat content food for 10 weeks. 2 of these high fat content groups were also fed 1 billion lactobacillus from kimchi every day. The results showed that the amount of muscle in the mice was similar, but the abdominal fat in the mouse which was fed lactobacillus from kimchi was 30% less than that of the other high-fat content mice. In addition, the index of metabolic diseases related to obesity, the concentration of cholesterol and neutral fat in the blood, and even the liver function also showed improvement. During the study, there was not much difference in the amount of food intake between the intake groups. However, there was evidence of weight changes. For 10 weeks, the weight of the normal food intake group increased by 10.8 grams, and the high-fat intake group increased by 16.3 grams. So how much did the weight of the Kimchi Lactobacillus intake group change? The Kimchi Lactobacillus Wickham 27 intake group increased by 0.4 grams, and the Kimchi Lactobacillus Wickham 31 intake group increased by 11.8 grams. The amount of weight increase of the high-fat intake group and the Kimchi Lactobacillus Wickham 27 intake group turned out to be the lowest amongst all the 4 groups. The results from the study show that although there was not much difference in body fat content between the intake groups in the beginning, a reduction of body fat in some groups was evident. The amount of body fat from Kimchi Lactobacillus Wickham 27 intake group and the Kimchi Lactobacillus Wickham 31 intake group was lower than the high-fat intake group. The amount of abdominal fat from the Kimchi Lactobacillus Wickham 27 intake group was 30% lower, and the Kimchi Lactobacillus Wickham 31 intake group was 53.5% lower than the high-fat intake group. Looking at the results of the study on the changes in fat in blood, it showed that there is a reduction effect through the alteration of the total amount of cholesterol and neutral fat volume. The total amount of cholesterol in the blood was the lowest in the Kimchi Lactobacillus Wickham 27 intake group. On top of that, the neutral fat volume in the blood from the Kimchi Lactobacillus Wickham 27 intake group and the Kimchi Lactobacillus Wickham 31 intake group was lower than the high-fat intake group. From observing the changes of GOT and GPT numbers as an index of liver function in the blood, both the Wickham 27 and Wickham 31 high-fat intake groups had a positive effect on improving liver function. This ameliorating effect is attributed not only to the Kimchi Lactobacillus improving the microorganisms in the intestines, which activates the microenvironment and the secretion of stotolic enzymes, but also improves the frequency of helping microorganisms such as bacteroids and Akkermansia that help to prevent against infection and obesity. There are more than 100 million lactobacillus in 1 gram of well-fermented kimchi. Therefore, it could be possible to ingest 7 billion lactobacillus from kimchi, considering Koreans tend to consume an average of 70 grams of kimchi per day. Kimchi lactobacillus has a positive effect on preventing obesity. It can do much to help modern people solve the obesity problem.